20,000 Roman soldiers marched into a forest, and almost none of them came back alive. 3 entire legions of Rome disappeared, swallowed by mud, trees, and betrayal. And for 2,000 years, their bones would lie hidden, scattered beneath the German earth. But how could the greatest military machine in the world, the undefeated legions of Rome, be destroyed by tribes Rome once mocked as barbarians? What happened in those 3 days inside the Teutoburg Forest has haunted history ever since. And the most chilling part? Even today, archaeologists are still uncovering the weapons, skulls, and secrets left behind in that killing ground. By the year 9 AD, Rome was unstoppable. From the deserts of Egypt to the coastlines of Spain, the empire ruled 3 continents. Its armies were feared everywhere. Its roads stretched thousands of miles. Its leaders believed they had brought civilization itself to the world. But north of the Rhine River, beyond the frontier, lay Germania. Thick forests, endless swamps, and hundreds of independent tribes who refused to kneel to Rome. To the Romans, Germania was not just wilderness. It was an opportunity. Land to conquer, people to tax, resources to exploit. For years, governors tried to tame it, building forts and forcing Roman law onto the locals. Some tribes appeared to submit, paying tribute and sending hostages to Rome as proof of loyalty. One of those hostages was a boy named Arminius, taken from his home, raised in Rome, trained as a soldier. He wore Roman armor, spoke fluent Latin, and fought bravely in Rome's wars. By the time he returned to Germania, he was a decorated officer, a trusted ally of the empire. To the Romans, Arminius was living proof that even the wild Germans could be civilized. Standing above him was Publius Quinctilius Varus, the Roman governor of Germania. Varus was confident, ruthless, and absolutely convinced the tribes were already conquered. He demanded taxes, obedience, and Roman law. He dismissed warnings from locals who whispered that rebellion was brewing, and he trusted Arminius completely. But what Varus didn't know was, Arminius had never stopped being German. Behind his Roman armor beat the heart of a man who had sworn revenge. Arminius had a plan, not to resist Rome, but to destroy it. And he would use Rome's arrogance against itself. It began with a whisper. Arminius rode into Varus's camp one day with alarming news. A rebellion had broken out. Several tribes were supposedly rising against Rome. If Varus wanted to crush the revolt quickly, he needed to march immediately. Arminius offered to guide the legions through the fastest route, a narrow forest path that cut deep into enemy territory. Varus didn't hesitate. Why should he? He commanded 3 legions, supported by cavalry, auxiliaries, and thousands of camp followers. Nearly 25,000 people in total, moving like a giant snake through the forest. To him, this was a routine march. But what he didn't know was, there was no rebellion. It was bait. The forest path was no shortcut. It was a trap. And Arminius, his most trusted ally, had vanished. While the Romans struggled forward through mud and rain, wagons breaking, horses screaming, Arminius was riding hard. He wasn't gathering troops for Rome. He was uniting the tribes of Germania. One by one, warriors emerged from the trees, painted, armed, waiting. By the thousands, they took positions above the road. Rome was walking straight into its grave. And then, tragedy struck. The first sound was a war horn. Then the trees themselves seemed to come alive. Spears rained down. Shouts in the German tongue filled the mist. Warriors leapt from above, hacking, stabbing, dragging Romans from their horses. The legions tried to fight back, but they couldn't form battle lines. They couldn't use their cavalry. Their famous discipline dissolved into chaos in the mud. Their shields grew heavy with rain, their swords useless in the tight forest. One cohort broke, then another. The road turned into a slaughterhouse. Bodies piled in the mud, wagons overturned, horses trampled. And worst of all, the Roman eagle standards, the sacred symbols of their legions, began to fall into enemy hands. Varus suddenly understood. This wasn't a rebellion, this was betrayal, and there was no way out. But the real secret was still buried. Because the ambush didn't last just one day, it went on for 3. Day after day, the Germans attacked. At night, the Romans tried to build camps, but the rain destroyed their defenses. Supplies rotted. Morale collapsed. On the second day, Varus ordered a desperate breakout. The column pushed forward, but every road was blocked by fallen trees, every path filled with hidden trenches. It was as if the forest itself had turned against Rome. On the third day, the massacre was complete. Entire cohorts were wiped out. Roman officers fell on their swords rather than be taken alive. The proud governor Varus chose suicide over humiliation. And the survivors, they were hunted down, burned alive in their camps, or sacrificed to the gods of the forest. By the end, 20,000 Romans lay dead. 3 entire legions, the 17th, the 18th, and the 19th, were erased from history. Their numbers were never used again in the Roman army. What they found next changed everything. When the news reached Rome, the empire trembled. Augustus himself, the most powerful man in the world, was shattered. He was said to wander his palace, crying again and again, "Quinctilius Varus, give me back my legions." But no one could give them back. Rome's dream of conquering Germania died that day. The Rhine River became the permanent frontier. Beyond it, the forest remained free, untamed. For the Germanic tribes, Teutoburg was proof that Rome could bleed, that even the greatest empire could be brought low. And centuries later, archaeologists would uncover the battlefield itself. Pits filled with bones, skulls cracked by swords, skeletons still clutching weapons, Roman coins, helmets, even fragments of the lost eagle standards buried in the mud. 2,000 years later, the forest was still giving up its dead. But the story wasn't over yet, because Teutoburg wasn't just a defeat. It was a turning point in world history. Without that massacre, Rome might have expanded deep into Germany, perhaps even farther into Northern Europe. The languages you and I speak today, the borders of nations, the entire shape of Europe, all of it might have been different. And here's the chilling part. Historians still debate whether Arminius truly planned everything, or if the forest itself, with its storms and mud, was the real executioner of Rome. Was this victory the triumph of German cunning, or the revenge of nature itself? What would you have done in that moment, a Roman soldier, trapped in the rain, knowing the empire you trusted had led you into death? Would you have fought to the end? Or thrown down your sword and begged the trees for mercy? So if you think Rome's greatest disasters are already known, you haven't been paying attention, because the forest still keeps its secrets. And the next lost battlefield, the next forgotten massacre could change history all over again. Subscribe and we'll uncover it together.